Welcome to the first In the Element episode of 2026. Today's topic is Private Cloud Business Edition. Now with PCBE, there's a bit of a reoccurring theme around choice, and I want to play on that theme of choice and give you a bit of choice on how you can navigate this video. So if you've got a good understanding of enterprise IT and you just want the specifics around PCBE, we can follow on from the timestamp below. Otherwise, if you're trying to build a more comprehensive story around the history of enterprise IT, the various evolutions that it's been through, we're going to wind back the clock and start from the beginning. Okay, so we're going to build out this story and see why enterprise IT exists today. Regardless of industry, most businesses have a core bunch of data-driven processes, whether it's creating data, storing data, processing data, or transferring data. Now, historically, these were all done by humans in the physical world. You had data that was saved in filing cabinets. Data transfer meant physically moving a piece of paper from one place to another. And these physical manual processes worked up until a time that they didn't. What we found is that humans became the bottleneck, both in terms of speed and accuracy. As compute power and accessibility improved, largely driven by Moore's Law, organizations tried to offload some of these data-driven processes from the physical world into the digital world. The goal here was pretty simple. We wanted to leverage computers to offload their data creation, data transfer, data processing, and data securing capabilities in a manner that humans couldn't compete with, both in terms of scale, accuracy, and speed. Welcome to the first digital revolution. This is where we had office clerks replaced by databases and data admins, we had filing cabinets replaced by file servers, and we had physical data transfer replaced by email. The tasks themselves didn't change, but it was the tools and processes that we used to perform the tasks that changed. Each of these digital services required its own set of enterprise IT, and this quickly led to what we call digital sprawl, which is complexity. Organizations needed teams of professionals just to keep the lights on, whether it's complex procurement cycles, management and administration. It wasn't an easy task. In essence, the first digital revolution didn't really eliminate the bottleneck, it just moved it down the line. So the original bottleneck was humans not being able to process information at scale and with accuracy. The problem that we had with the first digital revolution is the complexity of managing the hardware that did the processing and the storing. Even with advancements in virtualization and shared storage, enterprise IT has always been thought of as a necessary evil. It's complex, it's rigid, it's cumbersome. If you have a look at the nature of business today, enterprise IT is no longer just a core support function for those data-driven processes. The expectations is enterprise IT is going to be the driver of innovative applications that deliver competitive advantages back to the business. Now, these innovative applications, they all require back-end infrastructure to run on, but it's the dynamic nature of the applications, both in terms of how they scale and grow over time, but also in terms of the ability to rapidly provision new workloads that are placing new demands on enterprise IT. To stay competitive, organizations need to move at a much faster pace today, whether it's testing or deploying or scaling a workload. Traditional on-premise IT, with its complex procurement cycles, its rigidity, and its complexity to manage, is becoming a bottleneck and a hindrance to driving innovation. Modern businesses demand agility, elasticity, and operational simplicity. And this is where the public cloud came along and established itself through its simplicity, the ability to spin up a workload over the internet, and you only pay for what you consume. Simple, easy, everybody loved it. In essence, you're running your IT services on somebody else's hardware. There's nothing to manage, there's no complexity involved, you simply pay for what you consume. There's an analogy that we can use here, and it's the Uber analogy. Think of on-premise IT as owning your own car. There's the upfront costs, there's the maintenance, there's the petrol. It all needs to be dictated by you, whereas the public cloud is the equivalent of using Uber. Use an application, swipe your credit card, and you simply pay for the service that you need. At first glance, the Uber model seems superior, but it's a little bit more nuanced than that, because if you use Uber for every single trip, it soon becomes prohibitively expensive, let alone forfeiting control, security, and predictability. Now, conversations with our customers, they're having a similar experience by moving all of their workloads into the public cloud. Once again, predictability, security, and control are forfeited. So here we are today, and the industry is in a bit of a crossroads because we have traditional on-premise IT with all of the security and predictability that you've got asked for, but it's largely overshadowed by the management complexity. At the same time, a lot of the advantages of the public cloud are diminished because you do forfeit that control and security and predictability. So the question's a simple one. is there an offering that brings together the best of both worlds? And that's exactly what we're here to talk about today with PCBE. So we've set the stage, we understand the history of enterprise IT, and we understand the challenges that are being faced today. So let's go through and understand how and why PCBE is able to create the best of both worlds. The biggest takeaway is this: what we're trying to do is deliver the cloud operational model and the cloud consumption model applied to your own infrastructure. And let's go one step further and see specifically how HPE Private Cloud Business Edition differentiates itself from other private cloud offerings. So the cloud operational model, it redefined our expectations of how we interact with enterprise IT. And a lot of that has to do with simplifying and automating a lot of the tasks that have been associated with owning and managing enterprise IT, but also delivering services from that enterprise IT. I've mentioned previously about IT sprawl and complexity, so that's going to be one of the first challenges that need to be overcome. HPE has decoupled the management plane from an individual device layer, and that applies to your compute, storage, and networking appliances, and pushed into a feature-rich web-based cloud management platform. Now, this is a really good starting block because it offers a lot more accessibility to the management interface, obviously keeping security as well. And in terms of reducing operational silos, we're now consolidating compute, storage, and network appliances behind a unified management interface. Now, building upon that unified web-based management interface, we need to look at the operations that occur after day one, after the hardware is being deployed. Maintenance and patching has always been a complex activity, let alone when we're trying to navigate between different stacks of technology. So HPE has introduced this concept of one-click updates, which applies to your ProLiant firmware, your storage operating system, the virtualization layer, and even the host operating system as well. At the click of a button, we can deploy HPE validated firmware and software packages up and down your infrastructure stack. There's no more guesswork, there's no more complexity checking across different matrices. These are all pre-validated by HPE and accessible at a single click of a button, non-disruptively. Okay, so we've simplified the concept of IT sprawl and isolated silos. We've also had a look at how we can automate and simplify the patching and maintenance process. Inevitably, something is going to go wrong. Wouldn't it be great if we had a set of infrastructure that effectively healed itself? Now, this is where we talk about HPE InfoSight, which is the industry's most advanced AIOps engine. InfoSight isn't just watching for red lights. It uses global telemetry to have a look at the global install base and predict and prevent issues before they do occur. As an example, you might have a virtual machine that's performing poorly. InfoSight has the capability to look up and down the stack, compute, networking, storage, and virtualization layer to identify where the issue is and offer some actionable insights on how to resolve it. But remember, simplifying the management of enterprise IT is only half the story. The other side was being able to deliver services rapidly and accurately and consistently. The key here is to find the right balance between ease of use, control, and consistency. And the way that PCE does this is via self-service catalogs at multiple levels up and down the stack. This brings the same on-demand automation, click and deploy type experience that you have from the public cloud, but we're deploying it on-site to your own infrastructure. What would have taken weeks with tickets being sent across networking, compute, and storage teams is now done at a single click of a button. Now, to round off the operational story, HPE believe that the future is going to be hybrid, consisting of workloads that remain on-premise and workloads that remain in the cloud. PCBE allows you to not only manage your own infrastructure on-premise, but via that same management interface, you can access, monitor, and manage workloads in Azure and AWS. What we're trying to do here is reduce management tool sprawl as well. So from a single interface, we can manage your on-premise environment as well as workloads in the cloud. Once again, to recap, PCBE is your own infrastructure, but we bring the simplicity and the automation of the public cloud to your on-premise hardware. So does that mean that hardware is no longer important? I'd argue quite the opposite. And this is where HPE provides some real differentiation from other private cloud offerings. We do this by offering various workload optimized infrastructure stacks, and that's what we're going to go through now. Scenario number one, a customer is what we'd classify as a SMB in Australia or possibly an edge site. For these environments, we leverage HPE SimpliVity, which is our ultra feature-rich hyperconverged offering. What sets SimpliVity apart is the ability to provide high availability in as little as 2 nodes. A lot of our competitors need 3 and 4 nodes just to offer a similar level of availability, but with SimpliVity, with the combination of RAID and RAIN, so we've got data resiliency within each node as well as across a cluster, we can offer extremely high levels of availability in as little as 2 units of rack space or 2 nodes. Beyond resiliency, SimpliVity is built around extreme efficiency. So it supports inline real-time deduplication and compression. Ultimately, what this does is enhance performance and reduce your data footprint as well. Then as a third point, SimpliVity has native built-in data protection capabilities. So I'm not just talking about snapshots here, I'm talking enterprise-grade backups. So much so that we've seen a large segment of our customer base greatly reduce the reliance on third-party backup software vendors. In short, SimpliVity offers a resilient, efficient, and feature-rich platform without the management complexity. Perfect for SMBs and edge sites. Now, for larger environments or environments with a slightly different set of priorities, we offer an alternate infrastructure stack, disaggregated hyperconverge or DHCI. With traditional hyperconverge, we consolidate compute and storage resources in individual nodes. Now, this is great for simplicity, but when it comes to scaling out those environments, it can be quite inefficient. This is one of the advantages of DHCI, which disaggregates compute and storage resources. The history of the ProLiant server and all its accolades speak for itself. The star of the show here is the Alletra storage array. So I'm going to speak specifically about the Alletra B10000. It's a 100% availability, all NVMe enterprise grade array that starts surprisingly small, the footprint of as little as 15 terabytes. Now, what really elevates the array are the various HPE guarantees that are attached to the array. This isn't marketing fluff, these are contractual agreements with HPE. Let's look into the HPE Store More guarantee. So what we're guaranteeing is a 4:1 data reduction ratio. So let the Alletra B10000 leverage deduplication, compression, and data folding to provide the storage efficiency that you need. The next guarantee is the 100% data availability guarantee. Now, there was a time not too long ago where 5 nines was the gold standard. Nimble came out and introduced 6 nines that was groundbreaking, far ahead of the competition. We're not talking about 5 nines or 6 nines, we're talking about 100% data availability guarantee. The third guarantee might be the most compelling. It's a cyber resiliency guarantee. Now, the reality is for most organizations, it's not a matter of if, but a matter of when. We get impacted by some sort of ransomware. The legal ramifications, let alone the financial and the reputational ramifications, can be pretty disastrous. With the HPE Cyber Resilience Guarantee, HPE will guarantee that immutable snapshots that have been taken on the Alletra B10000 will be available for restore, as well as putting you in contact with a recovery specialist within 30 minutes of being reported. Summing up DHCI, disaggregated hyperconverge is the right play for organizations that need a more granular or specific ability to scale, as well as being backed by some of the industry's leading data reduction capabilities, ransomware resilience, and availability uptime guarantees. So we've had a look at the different infrastructure stacks that are supported with Private Cloud Business Edition, and both of these options provide differentiation depending on what the requirements are. Let's move up the stack to the virtualization layer and see what options we have there. VMware has been the gold standard for a while in terms of a feature-rich virtualization platform, and HPE PCBE will continue to support it. The reality is, changing market conditions, customers are looking for choice. To address this, HPE has introduced Morpheus VME Essentials as an alternate virtualization stack. Now, we've got proven customers in the field who are saving upwards of 60% on their virtualization costs without sacrificing any of the enterprise-grade features that they have historically been using. Now, crucially, VME does not introduce complexity. From the VME Manager or the management interface, VME allows you to manage VMware environments side by side with VME environments. Now, we can leverage this capability for a seamless transition play or for a multi-hypervisor strategy. The final piece of the puzzle is the consumption model. So where the public cloud change expectations from lumpy CapEx procurement cycles to a pay-as-you-use based consumption model. Now, traditionally, on-premise hardware has transacted either by lumpy CapEx payments or potentially a lease. What we are able to do via the GreenLake consumption model is leverage that cloud consumption model, meaning the hardware is deployed onto your site. HPE is able to monitor utilization across whether it's compute or storage resources and bill you based on consumption. It's the exact same experience, the exact same as model that people have become familiar with cloud services. We're going to take this one step further because the cloud enabled that elasticity and the ability to grow and scale as the workload demands. And HPE offer a similar sort of experience by deploying buffer capacity on site, whether that's compute capacity or storage capacity. Now, you're not initially billed for this additional capacity, but as we grow into it, that's when the consumption begins. Now, this is aligning your costs directly with your utilization, removing any risk of over-provisioning and overspending. So we've traveled from the era of physical ledgers and filing cabinets to what modern enterprise IT looks like today. We've seen the paradigm shift from the physical to the digital, and we've seen increasing expectations on IT teams and IT equipment. While the public cloud introduced a level of simplicity and automation, it did so often at the expense of control and predictability and security. HPE Private Cloud Business Edition is specifically engineered to avoid any of those trade-offs. It delivers the same automated, simplistic experience to your own hardware. Whether you need the density and the efficiency of SimpliVity or the independent scaling of DHCI, and whether or not you leverage VMware or VME at the virtualization layer, PCBE provides an automated self-service vending machine for your virtual machines and workloads. And by combining the cloud-like simplicity with the financial flexibility of GreenLake, PCBE allows you to stop focusing on managing the hardware and focusing on things that truly matter, such as delivering services and value back to the business. Reach out to Dicker Data to find out more.